Welcome please to the JVG podcast, where these G's are gonna spread their seeds of knowledge about the league. It's flourishing with these. These funny catchers seem to be well read, esteemed and honest. Like the man himself, Jeff Van Gundy. They are high IQ, so cerebral and funny. So if you're on the bus, just border on the dunny. Listen to the
JVG NBA Tribute Show.
You are listening to the JVG Tribute Show on the Deep 2 Podcast Network. My name's Marco, and joining me today, I got a big introduction for you. ABC Melbourne radio producer, RMIT University graduate diploma in journalism alumnus, host of Let Me Be Your Ruler, podcast about elections and democracy around the world, Ricky Rubio superfan.
Yes.
And as of 2 hours ago, officially my future housemate, Olly Lees. How the bloody hell are you, mate?
I am terrific, Marco. Thanks so much for having me. Cheers to us.
I can't believe it's over.
Unbelievable. I was so amped on the way over here that I was actually slightly late because I just kind of lost sense of where I was going. And I was listening to Playing the Game by Lil Bow Wow from the soundtrack of Like Mike.
Nice.
And I was just driving robotically in the general direction of where I go, and I went straight past Thornbury.
Oh, really?
To circle back because I was just so excited.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I actually, our house, the house that we just were approved for a lease for, it's on my route home from work, so I got to ride past it today. I was just grinning the whole way, like, "Hey,
man,
my commute's gonna stop here, not go for the extra 10 minutes that it usually does."
And you need a specific shout out as well for all the work that you did in going to inspections, but specifically hunting down this real estate agent and demanding basically that they accept us. It just seems that the approach to finding a house is just being like, hey, these are all my information. Let me give you every little bit of detail and just put it on their desk and they go, yeah, sure, fuck it, why not?
There was I don't know about you, but my references didn't get called.
Not that I'm aware of.
I didn't, none of the things that you put into an application that you think are going to be followed up were actually followed up. I was sitting at work being like, cool, I know when I'm close to getting approved to a house, I'll get a phone call from a real estate agent being like, oh, I just need a rental reference from Marco. And be like, oh, let me just put you on the phone to my boss/mum, and she'll give me a glowing she can actually give you a personal reference.
Let me patch you through.
Yeah. But that never happened. I don't think my references got contacted once from 10 or 12 applications we did.
Oh, I think they got an email. Some of them sent automatic emails.
Right, when we put our first application.
Yeah, one former employer.
Via the Sorted app.
Yes, exactly. Shout out. Probably the best of the application sites.
You like Sorted?
I like Sorted, yeah. That was good.
I liked the thing I didn't like about Sorted is it didn't feel like you'd actually done the application sometimes.
Right.
So it was just like, all your details are good, and you hit accept and you're like, oh.
Yeah, but it had a little percentage bar on how the application you done, which was good. I found to apply to be a bit specific with some of the requirements and things you had to fill out.
You had to click through everything.
Yeah.
And then if you didn't tick something, it wouldn't tell you until you got to the end, and it's like, oh, now you gotta go figure out what you did wrong.
Yeah, but hey, we don't have to deal with that stuff anymore, thank goodness.
Why are we even talking about it?
We're proud homeowners now.
Cheers to that, Olly.
No, but it's great to be here. Stepping into big shoes in the space of Lucas, but I hope I can fill them, basically.
Yeah. Lucas, hardest working man in basketball, taking some well-deserved time off. He's going to have heaps of time off, actually. He was meant to be on the Deep 2 on Thursday, so if you're listening, here's a little scheduling announcement. Sean's going to be in Sydney on Thursday, so there won't be any Deep 2 NBA podcast. And then he gets to go to bloody pitch and, have a good time there, as we say.
And we'll be deep in basketball conversation.
Yeah.
Consider it a working weekend, actually. it's more of a working holiday.
Because WNBL finals, the finals are on this weekend. And actually, I think he's quite devastated not to be able to go. Because we went on, we'll discuss this next week on the W, but we went to the Melbourne Boomers Southside Flyers semi-final game on Saturday. And usually when we go to the boombox, to the State Netball and Hockey Centre, we just get general admission tickets and we're seated way at the back. And it's fine, if you're on the wing at a basketball game, you can tell what's going on. But this time, Lucas managed to get me down into the media section, and we were literally courtside, mere meters away from Jade Melbourne and several other women's basketballing celebrities.
Traralgon product, thank you very much.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from the Traralgon Basketball Factory,
That's,
Jade Melbourne.
That's good to know. We're also seated behind Paige Scott and Maddie Prespakis of the Essendon Women's Football Club, which is...
and former Sunbury Lions junior footballer, Maddie Prespakis.
Look at this guy!
I interviewed her a few times at the local Star Weekly newspaper.
I knew we got you on for a reason. But the energy of watching a basketball game from like that close up, so different. Like I've never ever been to a professional basketball game and sat anywhere but like 3 rows from the back, basically. And it was electric. It was so much fun.
I went to one Melbourne Boomers men's basketball game when I was a young kid, back in the days of like Chris Anstey and Daryl McDonald. And I remember vividly after the game, they were on the court and each of the players had signed a ball.
Yeah.
And Daryl McDonald was on the other side of the court. I was maybe about 9 or 10 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm standing in my seat going, Daryl, over here. He points to me, full court heave. I caught it.
Wow.
And to the moment, my friend next to me was just like in tears almost immediately because I caught this ball and I was like, I still have it.
That's amazing.
I still have a signed Daryl McDonald. Melbourne Tigers.
He hit you on the chest from full court.
He hit me.
As well.
Yeah, he hit me. I assume maybe it was just me being young. I assume he was pointing at me specifically. It could have been a general hit.
Nah, you can't. Don't qualify it like that.
It felt very personal.
That has to be the real story.
Between Daryl and I.
Yeah, love that. Ollie, before we get into the basketball chat, what was I gonna ask you about? Oh, your podcast, Let Me Be Your Ruler. Do you want to tell listeners a little bit about that and where they can find it? Because they might not listen to the end of the episode.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So Let Me Be Your Ruler is a new project that I've started myself. And essentially it is the story of elections told through the voices of voters. So this year's going to be a record year for democracy. There's something like 4 billion people around the world going to some sort of poll, be it a sham or not.
Yeah.
In all sorts of places. And so, yeah, I'm a bit of a nerd for that stuff. But I generally like the bottom up approach rather than the top down. So I wanted to center the voices of people who are going to live with whatever the result is.
Yeah.
So each episode's chatting with people. My first episode's already out. It's on Indonesia. A couple of people that have actually voted in the election or were going to vote, and then sort of tying a bit of the context as well.
Yeah, beautiful. First episode was fantastic. Can't wait for more. And speaking of rulers, the Minnesota Timberwolves have been sitting top of the Western Conference
Nicely done.
for most of the NBA season so far. I'm actually just going to get the standings up because it's me and Sean were discussing on the Deep 2 last week just how tight it's been at the top of that Western Conference. Just cannot separate the Wolves from the Thunder, the Clippers, and the Nuggets. You are still currently top of the conference, so congratulations on that. It's been a really good season for the Wolves. I think after the sort of the struggles of integrating Rudy Gobert last season, I mean, he had injuries. Karl Anthony Towns was out for most of the season. That you have finally sort of made it work between those two. Mike Conley has been a great addition. He's been, the guy to steady the ship. A good initiating point guard, but also a good defensive point guard. Anthony Edwards is just like getting better and better. I mean, like Lucas had him for top 3 in MVP last season, and I think he's still like maybe a few years away from that sort of level. But there is still sort of, I think, I'm not to put the cart before the horse here, but there is still a little bit of concern about how this Wolves team is going to go into the playoffs. Well, one, given like Rudy Gobert's, his historical record in the playoffs, but two, like there is a lot of like good in the regular season, maybe not so good in the last 6 minutes of the fourth quarter in a playoff game about this Wolves team. What's been your read on the season so far? And then I guess we can get into those, postseason questions.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think last time I was on the pod was during COVID, and that might have been Jimmy. I don't know if it was Jimmy or post Jimmy, but
it was post Jimmy.
It was post Jimmy, and I think I was very pessimistic and just generally skeptical, which
Yeah.
is the general mood, I think, of most Timberwolves fans throughout franchise history, probably until like the last 3 months.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we're a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
I was reading your piece today on the Deep 2, and you were talking, great piece by the way,
Thank you.
about the struggles of the Pelicans, and similar context, I think, to the Timberwolves, maybe not as high on the standings, but it's like those late game scenarios.
Yeah.
And there was a game this week, or maybe last week, where Ant left to go see the birth of his
Yeah.
child. Congratulations.
Which is fantastic. We love to see
Fantastic. But we saw in that moment just the breakdown. And what I was watching for years prior to his arrival, which is Cat not wanting the ball in the clutch, and me probably not wanting him to have the ball either.
Yeah.
And us just not having options, basically. But outside of that example, I mean, we've improved dramatically. Like, the thing I'm most happy about is our defense.
Yeah.
Like, Jaden McDaniels is like a revelation.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're exciting. I think my expectations are still pretty tempered. Obviously, we're at the top of the conference, but it's very even. And look, having never seen us win a series in the playoffs, all I want is one win.
Yeah.
Like one series win.
Yeah,
Even if we finish on top, I will be completely satisfied if we can just knock off one team.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I think, I mean, I made this slightly facetious comparison on the Deep 2 about, there's a sort of 2020-21 Utah Jazz about this team where it's like, oh, cool, you got Mike Conley and Rudy Gobert. Yeah, just same players. Anthony Edwards is like kind of, a Donovan Mitchell type explosive scorer, but obviously like he's a lot bigger. And I genuinely think like this season, especially, he's proving that he can be at least a good defender. Like I do see some more, I don't want to say deluded, but let's say passionate Timberwolves fans say that he's a lockdown defender. I don't think that's true. Like I'm yet to see Anthony Edwards have a game where he like locks down an opposing wing. But like he's a plus defender now. Like
Totally.
There was times when it was really frustrating to watch him because it's like, oh, you have this insane athleticism, this excellent frame, but like you just get caught ball watching or with your back to the play, or like don't make the right read or the right switch. And like he doesn't seem to be doing that. It seems to be like positive when he's on the floor guarding someone. And yeah, like the problem with that Jazz team was like Rudy Gobert was this excellent rim protector and there was this excellent system you could build around him, but like at the end of the day when it got to the playoffs, like the Jazz didn't have any, like their best wing defender was Royce O'Neal, who's like 6'4". Like he's not going to be guarding your Kawhis and your KDs and those players in the playoffs. Jaden McDaniels is like he might be like the first team all defense guy this season.
He's long.
Yeah, and he's long as hell. Like he is genuinely a fantastic option to put on pretty much any perimeter player.
Yeah.
And and he's versatile. Like he can switch 1 through 5 if he has to. So like to me that feels like, he almost feels like the key to why you should be better in the playoffs is like obviously like if you're going to win a playoff series, Anthony Edwards needs to show up every night and score 27. Cat needs to show up every night and score 25. Rudy probably needs to, shoot above 50% from the field.
Well, there's someone you haven't mentioned.
Yeah.
Nas Reed.
Yeah.
Nas Reed, my man Nas, off the bench. My pick for 6th man of the year, before season, he's definitely not going to win that award, but he's awesome.
Yeah,
he's coming
fantastic.
off the bench and he's averaging like 12, 13 points. And
it's incredible to be like a center on a team with 2 centers that are getting paid like 40 million plus each and be like able to play meaningful minutes for this team. He's averaging 23 minutes a game. That's like really good integration by Chris Finch to like utilize him properly, because I was always, before this season I was like, Nazir is awesome, but why should he be on a team with like 2 like borderline all-star centers? Like where are his minutes going to come from? But like it's so often when like, I don't know, you need like the offense to open up a bit more, and he comes on and he just like does exactly that.
Yeah, he's our best scorer off the bench.
Yeah.
And he can do it all basically.
It's
like,
crazy, man.
Yeah, he's incredibly athletic.
When he attacks from the perimeter, it's crazy.
Yeah,
It's like...
exactly. Yeah, he can properly like pick it up and dribble, and he can shoot a 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, so overall, it's so tight though, the West. That's the thing. Like I think it was last week, it was like the gap between first and eighth is the same between first and second in the East. Or something like that. So
Boston are just taken away.
And we won today. We beat Portland, but we did lose 2 on the trot before that. And I could see us dropping a couple spots before the end of the season.
Yeah, and you know what though? That might be... And let's talk about this. I think that might be to your advantage.
Interesting.
I think that... I mean, look, I don't think you really want to play... Of the teams that are in the top 10 right now, as a Pels fan, but if I was a Minnesota fan, I'd be worried about pretty much all of them except the Sacramento Kings. Like, I do kind of see how... My fear is for like, and again we discussed this last week, is for Minnesota and OKC, if they finish 1 and 2, like they could end up playing one of the Dallas Mavericks, Los Angeles Lakers, or the Golden State Warriors in the first round.
It's a terrifying prospect.
Yeah, and it's like, the Warriors, they've been on this great run lately, but like there's so many holes in their roster. The Lakers have been just hot and cold all season, like. It's so obvious that this isn't like that they're like far from the best they can be, but you would hate coming up against Steph Curry or LeBron James in a first round series,
or Luka for that matter.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Luka's, and that's a different story altogether. I think that's like, I think the Mavs are like a much more solid team, and like their kind of struggles of late, like I think they'll figure it out before the playoffs. But yeah, like what do you think? Do you think you can win a first round series against those teams?
Yes, I think we can, and that might be a little too optimistic, but there's a lot to like about our teams, and like you said, those teams are very streaky.
Yeah,
I tuned into the Dallas game this week, and obviously Luke is the most creative, probably, and like accomplished offensive player, but they had so many holes in their defense. I think it was against Boston.
Yeah,
obviously Boston's probably the best team in the league at the moment, but it was. They were just scoring it well. And there were passengers, and when Luka wasn't on the floor, they were running around with their heads cut off, sort of thing. I did really like Derek Lively.
Yeah, he's good.
He was playing well in the pick and roll.
And now they've got like him and Daniel Gafford. There's like 48 minutes of like good center rotation, and like centers who like play well off Luka as well. Like solid defensively. Maybe not. I mean, Derek Lively's had. I think he had a 10-block game. He's had some crazy games.
Not sure.
He's had a lot of. He's had some really, really good stat lines for.
I think they have the highest like maybe dunk percentage off of a pick and roll or something like that.
That makes
Luke
sense.
is always doing his little dinky ones over the top.
Yeah. But yeah, like then again, it's also like, well, there's not very much versatility for them there. But yeah, like their defense. Since that first season with Kidd, like it just has not recovered to being the same, and it's like it's probably a roster issue. I think, like
So like I would say we could beat one of those teams. I certainly wouldn't bet our new house on it, which we don't own, but it feels like we do.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think we're in with a shot. We're really improved.
Yeah. Anthony Edwards, like again, having a good season, like he does get better and better, but like he's not. I suppose he's not quite at that. I mean, obviously he's not at like the Shea Gilgeous-Alexander level or anything like that. Do you think? Well, one, do you think he can be like an MVP candidate? And two, do you think that that's like the only way that you guys have like an actual contention chance, like actual championship potential, is if Anthony Edwards is like, that level of player
moving forward in this season?
Not this season, like moving forward.
I think probably with our current mixture of players, we need him to play like an MVP for us to get somewhere. Like he's gonna have to, if we're in a series, for example, like with Golden State, he's gonna need to pull a rabbit out for us to survive that sort of situation. Who knows, if we change things up moving forward, I would say we would need more probably offensive capability. But let's be honest, I think he's only going to get better. He's a little bit inconsistent at times. Which is, you're right, he's probably not on the level of some of those other, like your Jason Tatums and your Shea Gilgeouses. But I'm pretty sure he'll get there. And man, is he exciting to watch.
100%. Yeah, and he just adds something new to his game every year as well. Like, it's not that just that like actual improvement. It's like he's developed, like the way his mid range has improved this season, and like the defensive stuff we were talking about. But yeah, what you're saying there, where you're like, okay, maybe not with this current roster. Does that? I mean, do you need to improve upon Cat? Is he maybe not the best best Robin to Anthony Edwards' Batman?
Cat is the eternal question, isn't he? He's on a big contract, and I think we're pretty tight for space.
Yeah.
I just don't see the franchise moving him on, really. I think they've sort of got him in the pocket. I think we could probably improve as a team if we got someone... I don't know. I don't know who exactly that would be, but I don't think he's like essential to us winning or improving. He consistently stuffs the stat sheet.
Yeah.
But he makes really foolish decisions in critical moments, and he actually hides from the ball at times where he needs to have the ball, which is like the biggest thing that just frustrates me. When it used to be him and Andrew Wiggins, both of them would just be like passing it back and forth to one another, being like, not me. It's infuriating. Like we don't have to deal with that anymore. But he should be our second guy, so he should be able to step up in those moments.
Yeah, 100%. I like that. What was it? 70? Was it
70 and
70 and a loss?
70 and a loss and 50 in an All-Star game.
Yeah. The All-Star game was ridiculous. He was like genuinely like attacking the rim, and it's like no one's defending you right now.
That's the thing. He is embarrassing, like I don't hate him. I think he's added a lot of value to our franchise in very, very dark times. He's been a spark of joy. But yeah, he's pretty cringe.
He's so cringe. He's easily like top 5 cringiest player in the league. And it has the cringe gene has haunted the Minnesota Timberwolves since you've been good as well. Like, I love Anthony Edwards. I'm fully like, anything cocky or whatever he says in an interview, I'm like, yeah, great. But like, there can be a bit of cringe in that sort of attitude as well.
Totally.
You had the Pat Bev stuff, which was jumping on the scorer's table.
Even like Jimmy coming and going quite quickly, that was quite cringe. And like he clearly just didn't enjoy his time there. And was like, this franchise sucks. I'm gonna leave and go be successful at Miami again. So this shadows us. And even in this moment of like hope with an Anthony Edwards led team, like is he going to be attracted to move to a bigger market? Something like that. He seems like that type.
But he seems happy though. He like whether or not there's the grass is greener. Like he does seem happy in Mini. Like I feel like even since the beginning, like he hasn't been one of those players who you're like, all right, you're only going to be happy when like the team gets better and the situation is better. Like, you'll know better than me, but like there are those players where it's like, oh, fuck, like, they kind of look like they want out and then their team, goes on a run, has a good season and they're like, oh, I love being here, man. It's like, well, you love being here because it's a good basketball team.
Right.
Whereas like, his happiness with Minnesota doesn't seem to be fair weather. It might be because, they picked him first overall and have like very quickly supplanted their other their other high draft prospect with him as the first option on offense. Like you'd be pretty happy to go into that franchise with a guy who's like 6 years older than you, who they've like really built everything around for the last 5 or 6 seasons, and they're like, no, immediately like, yeah, you're definitely the better player. Like,
I've also noticed recently Minnesota socials referring to Mike Conley as Minnesota Mike.
Yeah.
Which I think is a little audacious given his like decade in Memphis.
Yeah.
Like
But it is the thing where like you watch guys like Cat try to like establish, I guess personality or loyalty or something like that, and then someone like Mike Conley who's just like the nicest guy in the world, the best team player ever, can just walk into a franchise and everyone's like, Mike, it's like you've been here for 100 years, man.
Right.
And yeah, like there's a very funny conversation in our podcast group chat the other day about how important Mike Conley is to the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah.
And like Lucas was being like, they wouldn't be good on defense if they didn't have Mike Conley. And Sean was being like, now hold on. Like, Rudy Gobert 3-time defensive player of the year is there. And like, sure, Conley helps unlock him and the chemistry and blah, blah, blah. And Lucas was like, nah, like if he wasn't there, they'd be shit.
Do you think Rudy wins defensive player?
That's a really good question.
Yeah, that one stumped me.
Because, I mean, theoretically he should. Like, he's putting up really good defensive numbers.
Yeah, we've got a great record.
Yeah, and you're the best defense in the league. But I think since that playoff flame out in Utah, like, the one where they were the 1 seed and then not just they got rinsed by the Clippers, but he personally got absolutely rinsed by the Clippers. Like, Terrence Mann was dunking on him and shit like that. It's like, I think that has like damaged his defensive reputation enough to like take him out of the running, which is crazy. Like, and I think it's got to be a bit of like voter fatigue as well. It's like, well, we voted for this guy when he was in his prime on these like league best defenses. But now we've kind of seen him be exposed or whatever. It's like the thing where it's like, I mean, if Embiid had stayed healthy, he probably would have won MVP again. But after the Philadelphia, got knocked out of the playoffs last season, everyone was like, fuck, we probably should have voted for Jokic. Like, there's that thing where it's like...
Well, exactly. You have to judge it on the time provided.
Yeah.
Or the season... the season that Rudy's put together is good. Like, reputational damage... storytelling.
Yeah.
These shouldn't be factors, but they are.
They always are. And the thing is, DPOY of all the awards is the regular season award. It's like, who's the best defender in the regular season?
Yeah.
Like, we're not giving it to, Drew Holiday for his, like game-winning steal in the NBA Finals. Like, we're giving it to Rudy Gobert because he gets a lot of blocks. Like,
Yeah.
But then I think there's this funny thing where it's like, once the playoffs happen, that then can tarnish your reputation kind of permanently throughout the regular season.
And if you look at pure numbers, like, I guess you give it to Wemby, right?
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, but you can't do that.
You just can't do that.
Spurs
They're just
are terrible.
Like, what's the point of that defense, right?
Exactly. And then it's like, well, do you give it to like Chet, who's putting up really good numbers on a really good defense as well? Probably can't do that because he's a rookie. Do you give it to like Evan Mobley, or something like that? Do you give it to who would the other candidates be currently? Bam Adebayo, like, this could be the year that he somehow sneaks in because
he probably deserves one. Hey?
Yeah, because like the narrative about everyone else is, too bad or something like that. I wonder who. Let's have a look at the Vegas odds.
Some of the smaller guys, probably. I mean, they struggled.
Yeah. But like, I can't think of a sort of defensive guard who's having an absolutely stellar year.
Did Drew Holiday ever win one?
No, he should get a legacy one.
Yeah,
but like, probably not this year. But maybe he should this. I don't think he'll get one. He should absolutely have one. Yeah. Like, I don't think there was a season where he was like the DPOY, but there's got to be like 12 seasons where he was like the best perimeter defender in the league.
Ongoing contribution to
the lifetime achievement DPOY. I mean, look, Rudy is the odds-on favorite at the moment, and then Jared Allen.
Okay.
And Derek White is the first non-big in the conversation.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it might be a Rudy, actually.
It seems, I mean, judged on what we've discussed, it seems like it has to be.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens in the playoffs. And, like, I suppose the jury's still out in that case. But that's not what the award's for.
No,
at the end of the
exactly
day.
Right.
And that will be his fourth?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah. It's a lot.
He's a good player.
It's a lot of...
I have come around to the trade. After we trade a full battalion of men for a single Frenchman.
And every single pick in the world. Yeah. And not only a full battalion of players, but like a bunch of players who played really well.
Yeah, our best 3-point shooter, our best on-ball defender. Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to cap off about the Timberwolves? Could you use Ricky Rubio off the bench?
Of course we could use Ricky. He is my favourite player of all time, and an icon. They should retire his jersey, as far as I'm concerned. I don't think we've even retired Kevin Garnett's jersey.
Really?
At this stage. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That seems crazy.
Yeah. You can check that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. I think there's some level of beef there he has with the organisation.
Yeah, but like...
I know.
Come on.
I know, he won an MVP in 2004, maybe?
He's one of like 3 good players.
Hey now. I'm not standing for this Timberwolves erasure.
No, that's ridiculous. He should absolutely have his jersey retired.
I'm pretty sure we don't have any.
You have one.
Okay.
Which is Malik Sealy, who is... Oh. Who died... I think he died in a motorcycle accident while he was playing for you. So,
okay.
You know...
On the honor board.
But being the best player in franchise history isn't enough to get your number retired.
So, yeah, I mean, we'd have to look it up, but I think there is some sort of...
Yeah.
I mean, which is just like so indicative of the Timberwolves that we managed to fray a relationship with one of the most like influential basketballers of a generation. Someone who like led us, I think, maybe to a conference final. And won an MVP. And I don't think he really likes coming back to Minnesota because of the way he was treated or something along those lines. So that's a real shame.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if he has his number retired for
Boston,
who retire. I mean, you know,
I think he might, because I think there was a whole thing about it being embarrassing that we hadn't yet done it.
Yeah, he had his retired in 2020, and he still hasn't had his retired.
Yeah, and everyone, all the Timberwolves fans were like, "Why have we not done this?" And
yeah. All right, well, we'll put a pin in that and see see how the Wolves feel about it in the off-season. Should we take a quick break and then we'll go on to our next segment?
Sounds good.
You want to talk WNBA? Maybe some WNBL? Australian Opals chat? Heck, even dabble in some EuroLeague? Find the W Basketball Show on the Deep 2 Podcast Network.
The NBA moves so quickly these days, it's hard to keep up. Shams and Woj are breaking stories left and right, but the Quick Time Out is right there with them to keep you informed on the latest NBA news. Stop in and let us break it down as it happens. Find the Quick Time Out on the Deep 2 Podcast Network.
All right, one delicious sip of beer later, and we're back.
Feeling good, rested, rejuvenated, ready.
So to circle back to, I wanted to flag this when we were talking about Let Me Be Your Ruler, but to circle back to, let's say, yours and then our shared interest in global politics, world history, things of that nature. We've put together a little starting 5 challenge, World Leaders Edition. So I think this started when you sent me a video of... Was it a video or was it just a text post about...
Both.
About Fidel Castro inventing the Eurostep. Basically, it's like a diary entry of Che Guevara talking about...
I've got it here. Should I read it out?
Yeah, read it out, please.
So this is Che Guevara on the 12th of December 1962, discussing his basketball pickup games he would play with the Cuban leader, Fidel Castro. In his frequent basketball matches, Fidel has started using a new move he simply calls the step.
Yeah.
It is undeniably effective, yet is its goodness equally undeniable. As revolutionaries, we must not merely pay attention to ends, but to means. I worry that this flash and pomp is not befitting of the revolutionary leader. It serves to separate him too much from those caught in the chains of a maudlin life, marred by oppression and economic strife. And this is the kicker to really send it home. Yes, it leads to a basket, but at what cost to the communal spirit? Just unbelievable. Che Guevara just like putting into their history books that he's just getting owned by Fidel. He's giving very big, like Brandon Knight energy.
But he's right, man. The Eurostep, it's a decadent capitalist, you know.
I have similar thoughts when I see Luka, like weaving through the paint, or Giannis with his step through.
And see, this is the problem. This is the problem with the modern NBA with, this explosion in scoring. There's
Right.
at what cost?
I thought you were going to say the invasion of Europeans. Wasn't it Gilbert Arenas this week? It was
Yeah.
Made it so easy for European
defense. And it's like, well, as we just discussed, the two best defenders in the league are both European.
Right.
Absolutely hilarious. And then you can watch the video of him. It's not the cleanest Euro step, but
No.
I'd call it the step for sure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, he's getting to the basket with ease.
Yeah, which does raise the question of like the origin of the step. Was he one of the first to step?
Yeah.
62?
Yeah.
It's pretty early.
I think so. Because it was Manu Ginobili brought it to the NBA, but
Can that be true though? Like, surely people were doing it before. Like, obviously it was distinctive.
Yeah.
But like, isn't it just intuitive to think I'm going to take this big step in a direction
I think
away
so.
from
I think so.
Like, surely someone worked that out.
But that's the conventional wisdom, right?
Right.
That Manu Ginobili brought it in the early 2000s. Like,
I'm just struggling to imagine like a Tropic Thunder, like when they discover the alley-oop
Yeah.
type situation, and the whole crowd is just shocked. Like, I can't imagine Manu just got into the league in the 2000s and everyone's like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
No one's seen this before.
Yeah. But there must have been games where it's like, what's this weird Argentinian dude, like, how does he keep scoring? Like,
True.
Like,
true,
how
true.
does he keep getting around our best defender, like, on every time down down the floor? Anyway, in honor of Fidel Castro's contributions to basketball, because he's quite tall as well, wasn't he? Do you have do you know
I know
his official
exactly how
height?
tall he is. He is 6'5".
6'5"?
6'3", sorry.
Oh, okay,
6'3", which in a head of state sense, tall.
Yeah, very tall.
Yes.
Very tall from our research.
Not the tallest from our research, but we'll get to that.
So, basically, Ollie, you have put together a historical world leader starting five.
Yes.
So these are leaders from any point in history.
But no longer serving.
Yeah, no longer serving. Can I ask how far back you've gone? What's your oldest leader?
Sure. The oldest leader I have, I think, reigned in the 1300s.
1300s.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
I'm gonna hold it, but I have a guess for who it might be.
I'll be amazed if you can guess who it is.
Okay.
Okay.
And then I've gone with current world leaders. But I've given myself one mulligan.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very recent world leader who is no longer in that position as of like 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
Just because I really, really, really wanted to include them in a particular position.
Sure. So
And
do you want to go first?
I think you should go first with the historical starting five. Well, one, because I think it'll be the more interesting and funnier one. And two, we'll go in chronological order.
Okay, sure, that makes sense.
Yeah. And so we're going 1 through 5, and then we got a 6-man.
Can I jump around in my order?
Oh, absolutely.
Is that okay?
Yeah, do whatever you
So I've got them in positions,
Yeah.
but I'd like to jump around.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, for
All
dramatic effect.
Yeah, for dramatic effect. Exactly. There's a build to this thing.
Yeah.
So I guess just for starters, we've got the man himself, the human missile crisis, the big Cubano, Fidel Castro, and it's small forward.
Yeah.
He's 6'3". I think anyone who inspires a diary entry for his basketball moves deserves to be in my starting five. He's pretty big. And like the footage, he looks like he can get to the ring.
The point, I think the main point is like, he's a world leader who we have like video footage of playing basketball. They're few and far between.
I think we've both probably found in our research so few and far between.
Yeah.
And we should mention as well that basketball was invented in 1891. So I'm dealing primarily with people with no concept.
Not popularized worldwide until like the 60s as well. Yeah.
Exactly. So the major sort of criteria I'm using are physical physique for some, and for others, politics and personality and how that might benefit my team in a game.
Beautiful.
So we've got Fidel there at small forward.
Fidel at the 3.
I'm going to go to the bigs now. In its center, and this is our king from 1331 to 1346, the king of Serbia.
Oh, okay.
Stefan Dusan, aka Dusan the Mighty.
This is so funny, but go on. Yeah.
So, as any good investigation started, I Google searched tallest world leaders of all time.
Yeah.
Stefan is believed to be potentially the tallest. He's 214 centimeters tall. And not only that, he's known for uniting not only Serbia, but Albania and Greece for a period of time. I've got him at my centre because I just think he's just going to occupy a huge amount of space. And he was 7 foot in the 14th century.
Yeah.
When people were not very tall.
No.
So he actually created a posse of people. He scoured the Balkans, finding other people that were over 200 centimeters tall.
Really?
So that they could keep him company and make him feel more assured.
Play
of
like a
himself.
prototypical basketball game or something like that. Wow, there you go.
So he's my centre.
Stefan the Tall, is that his name?
His name's Dusan the Mighty.
Dusan.
Stefan
No.
Dusan.
Yeah, okay, cool, nice.
My power forward, also a deep cut. You may not be familiar with. Also a size king.
Yeah.
This is Tafa Tupou the Fourth.
Okay. Oh yeah, of course, Tafa, yeah.
The king of Tonga
Oh right.
from 1965
Yeah.
to 2006. Now, Tafa Tupou, 6'5", but the big asset that Tafa brings to the table is he weighs in at 199 kilograms.
Wow. Incredible.
Which I looked up would make him the heaviest player of all time by NBA standards. And I wonder if you could guess who the actual heaviest player of all time is.
It's not Shaq, is it? Or
It's not Shaq.
oh god. No, I'm not sure.
It's a deep cut. I'd never heard of him. His name is Oliver Miller.
Oliver Miller.
He was 170 kilograms. They called him the Big O, and he played for the Suns.
The Big
in
O.
the 90s.
God, so good.
So that's my backcourt, and I'm
Yeah.
just thinking that you just can't get through.
Right.
You basically can't enter the
Not
game.
a lot of technical ability, but
Well, a little bit of athleticism, because I did find that Tafa Tupou held the Tongan pole vault record at the age of 14.
really?
The national record.
probably before he put on all this kilograms.
Sure. But there's got to be a little bit of... Probably isn't.
Yeah. No, it's true, you know. Zion was just a regular kid with a lot of bounce, and then, you know,
Yeah,
he became 129
Are we picking the time at which they were ruling as... Because maybe I'll just go with early Tafa. Maybe 1965.
early Tafa.
1965 Tafa.
Prime Tafa.
All right, I'm going to swing across now to the guards.
Yeah.
My point guard is Genghis Khan.
Oh wow, great choice. I thought so what I was going to guess before, I thought Kublai Khan was going to be
I did consider Kublai.
because he was quite a physical specimen as well, I think.
He was.
Yeah.
I was considering him because he did a great job of uniting a lot of different people.
Yeah.
But I just think for like intimidation,
Yeah.
we talk about white line fever. I think Genghis Khan lives and breathes that ideology at all times.
He's a real bulldog, you know. Like,
Can you imagine? We've got Dusan the Mighty coming up to set a pick, and you've got Genghis Khan coming around with his right hand. He's scary. He's terrifying. And in the basketball these days, we talk about dynasties.
Mm-hmm.
No one's built a bigger empire than Genghis Khan. This guy's industrious. He's attacking. He's on top of a horse. I imagine he's got to have great balance, dexterity. Easy point guard selection for me. Genghis Khan. And then my final starting player, which is probably my most, controversial.
Okay.
It's going to take some explaining.
Yeah.
At shooting guard, I've got Scott Morrison.
Oh no! Jesus.
Let me explain.
Okay.
Let me explain.
Don't let me counter.
So looking at the rest of my team, we've got a great offense coming from Genghis.
Yeah.
We've got defense and size coming from Dusan and Tafa Tupou. What I thought I needed is I needed some perimeter defense and versatility. And say what you will about Operation Sovereign Borders, that was effective.
Yeah,
That
right,
was effective.
Okay.
And also,
interesting.
nothing says versatility like holding 5 secret ministries at the same time.
Yeah.
He's a man of many hats. And he's 5'11". He's not terribly small.
No, I don't mind that. I don't mind that pick at all. I'm just thinking, the way I'm looking at your team so far, your starting 5, you know, like you got Fidel, and he's like he's the LeBron here, right? Like
Sure.
he's the best player on the best team.
Sure.
He's taking the ball up the court 99% of the time. Like, oh, maybe Genghis takes it up, kind of like.
I'm imagining Genghis is more of like your agitator. He's like a Patrick Beverley sort of player.
Yeah. But maybe he functionally takes the ball up to half court, passes it to Fidel. He calls for a pick, he clears out, whatever. And yeah, you've got Genghis Khan, one of the not only established one of the largest empires of all time,
The largest land empire of all time.
also killed a hell of a lot of people. Like millions and millions.
Yeah.
I think the Mongol invasions were one of the deadliest
Totally.
events in history.
Absolutely.
So I'm pretty intimidated by him. Your two bigs I'm feeling pretty intimidated by as well. One of them 7'7", the other's 190 kilograms. And then Scott Morrison. He's just not really
It's
really
a different
scaring
vibe,
me,
but I think he's going to provide crucial defense.
Yeah,
To our
okay.
team, and that's what we need.
All right. He's quiet. He's the
Yeah.
He's the quiet, hardworking
He's the foil,
Australian.
he's the guy everyone's having a bit of a go at, but he's doing okay. He's doing okay. And let's think about it as well in salary terms. These guys are demanding a lot of money. Genghis, he's going for a pretty coin.
Yeah.
You need a couple ScoMos in your team just to make it under the cap.
Point. That's a really good point. Yeah.
So I've also got a 6-man and
ScoMo on a minimum.
I've got a 6-man and a coach as well.
Yeah, cool.
My 6-man had to put him in because he's the only one that I actually knew who has played basketball historically, and that's Barack Obama.
Yeah, great choice.
Came off the bench in the late 70s for his high school in Hawaii, and they won a state championship. There's lots of very funny articles of people being like, how good at basketball actually is Barack Obama? And interviews with like former coaches. It sounded like he was like coming off the bench. He was relatively athletic, couldn't really shoot very well, but could every now and then get to the rim, basically. And he's probably the only one of these people who's probably got some sort of tactical mindset as well in terms of basketball, so had to get him on the bench.
Yeah, and that's good. I think if Genghis is your starting point guard, that real just like harry the opposing point guard, disrupt the game. Get Barack on, let him settle things down and run the offense.
Totally.
Stick Fidel in the corner for a couple possessions.
Yes.
I think that's a fantastic choice. There's good stories of him. Well, there's a memoir by one of his former Secret Service agents who was like basically the guy he liked to play basketball with while he was in office. Because I think he tried to play like every day basically for like half an hour or something.
Yeah.
Then go down to the basketball court he had installed at the White House and like shoot around for a little bit.
I did find one story. So in 2010, he played a game of horse with a former NBA player called Clark Kellogg.
Yeah.
Have you heard this story?
Yeah.
You know Clark Kellogg?
Yeah.
Who in his rookie year had 20 and 10 but didn't win.
Really?
Yeah. Another guy called Trey Cummings also had 20 and 10. Like just a crazy year for rookies.
That's a great
But
stat
Barack
line.
beat him in a game of horse.
Wow, there you go.
So I mean, he can perform under pressure. He can shoot. He's proved his chops against NBA players.
So who's the guy? I can't remember his name. This is such a tangent, but he was like one of those like YouTube shooting coach guys. He's like, I can drain shots from anywhere. And then they had him on Inside the NBA, and him and Kenny Smith played horse, and Kenny just beat him like so quickly.
Was it Lethal Shooter?
Yeah, it's Lethal Shooter.
Really?
Yeah.
Beat him.
Yeah, he just absolutely wiped the floor with him.
I used to follow Lethal Shooter, but I just had to stop.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
Yeah. He's a bit Minnesota Timberwolves cringe.
Hey now.
All right. Who you got marking the X's and O's then?
So my coach. This is obviously a bit of a. There's going to be a lot of egos in this team. Let's say that.
Hugely.
Between Dusan the Mighty, Genghis Khan, and Scott Morrison. Someone needs to be able to corral. Someone needs to have a mind for the bigger picture.
And sorry, before you get into this, I can now imagine Scott Morrison just like shooting contested threes when he should be swinging it to an open Fidel. Like, that's absolutely something he would do.
We've got players that are from different parts of the world. So we really need someone who's got that diplomatic ability.
Yeah.
Someone with a strong head on their shoulders as well. They're not going to be pushed around. And so my coach is Angela Merkel.
Great choice.
Yeah.
Great choice.
Essentially, led the European Union through a really difficult time. Grew it in that time. She's a good talker, and she's just headstrong.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important quality that you need to coach these group of players.
So, my one mulligan and my point guard was also Angela Merkel. Oh no! Damn it.
Sorry, I consider her in my point spot as well.
That's fine. That's completely fine. Because I was like, same thing with my roster. I'm like,
I can switch her out. I've got some.
No. I think you should absolutely keep her. I think she should be in both teams.
She can be in both teams. Sure.
This isn't a real life contest. It's like a 2K thing where
Boy, do I wish this was a real life contest.
Do you want to go through your honorable mentions and then I'll go through?
Yeah, sure. So I've got the former Finnish Prime Minister Sanna Marin.
Yeah.
Marin.
Yeah.
There's some TikToks of her shooting basketball.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
She doesn't seem, the TikTok she gets them in, but I imagine she's editing.
I didn't even know she wasn't serving any.
Yeah, not anymore. I think she just retired to go back to the club. I've got Abe Lincoln, of course.
Yeah.
I thought he would maybe be like a bit of a Bill Russell type.
Yeah.
But I just over the size of the two other guys, I just simply couldn't put him in.
Yeah, for sure.
I also had Peter the Great and Margaret Thatcher in my team.
Margaret
as
Thatcher.
honourable mentions.
Wow.
Yeah.
The Iron Lady.
The Iron Lady, I thought would be good. I was gonna have her as my lockdown defender, but then I just thought ScoMo was too compelling.
Yeah. I understand. I understand.
You understand, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a very formidable team, and honestly, I think they'd wipe the floor with my boys. But yeah, let's go through them nonetheless. So at my point guard, we'll start with that. I had my one mulligan, which was Angela Merkel, who I think she only stepped down. What was it, a year ago or 2 years ago, something like that. Yeah, for exactly the reasons you outlined, with this sort of diverse group of players you you need someone who's good at organizing, who's good at meeting people in the middle, good at compromising as well. She has for a long time organized a very hodgepodge roster in the European Union. You've got your all stars, you got your superstars, and then you got your basket case role players. She's a tireless defender of the European Union, and she's a top level distributor of austerity measures. I think she'd be the perfect I would call her like a Mike Conley or a Chris Paul type,
yeah, exactly. I'm seeing low turnovers. Is what I'm seeing. Exactly. I don't think she's producing a lot, but she's making wise choices.
Exactly. Pass first, can guard the opposition point guard. Takes open shots when she has to.
Yes.
That's all you have to ask of her. Like, things are good under her watch. At the two guard, I've gone with the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau.
Good choice.
He's one of the few world leaders you have a confirmed height on at 6'2". So he's in the basketball range, and he's also just like, you just look at him and he's one of the more obviously athletic world leaders. You see him playing rugby.
Yeah, him and Barack have played.
Yeah. Like, he seems relatively fit. He's under 50. He's also quite well known for his offensive dress ups. All I'm hearing there is he's quite well known for his offense. So I think he's slotting quite well at the two. I'm seeing him as like a Kyle Korver type, like he's just taking a lot of threes. I don't need him to defend. I've got enough of that on the rest of my roster. But
are you a lefty?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, I didn't look up hands.
Let's say he's more ambidextrous.
Yeah, the deeper you go, it's harder to know. Like, there was a lot of speculation as to the height of Genghis. And some of the others. Yeah, that's great. I love Justin.
Yeah. At small forward, we have the current president of Cuba, Miguel Diaz-Canel, who I'm hoping can inherit some of Fidel's spirit of the revolution.
So I don't know. What was his first name?
Miguel.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's been president since 2022, and so he's the first non-Castro to rule Cuba since the revolution. there are some photos of him where he is taller than Fidel Castro. And now, I'm sure Fidel shrunk into his old age.
Yeah.
But, you know, he does seem to have the stature of,
Sure.
you know, of the revolutionary leaders of and ball players of old Cuba. So before he was a politician, he spent time working as an engineer, and he was also in the Revolutionary Army. So hopefully he can engineer his own shot
How old
out
is
of
he?
the small forward position. I think he's in his 60s.
Okay.
But we're taking prime Miguel Diaz-Canel.
Well, I was thinking you have to take from a period of their reign.
Oh,
Yeah.
damn! All right. Well, I'm
Nah,
it's a bit harder with the current ones. Then, and it's good. We all know that Cuban presidents are small forwards. I'm glad we can agree.
Yes,
agree on that.
that's obvious. I don't think we need any further commentary on that.
Yeah. At power forward, I had the same thought as you as well. I wanted like a big body, like a Charles Barkley type. I was thinking, so I've gone with President of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro.
Oh, interesting choice.
Him and his predecessor, Hugo Chavez, both, you know, they're chunky boys. They're physically very, very solid. But you know, he can still fire off shots. Space the floor. He's good at criticizing U.S. capitalist hegemony, or standing up for the Palestinian cause. But yeah, this pick, the more I read about him, the less I liked about him.
That was my initial thought. Yeah.
Some pretty bad human rights abuses under Maduro. But hey, again, he keeps the borders nice and secure.
I think that was one of my favorite things about doing this research. Was a lot of the articles were that there would be like an opening par where it would like mention the atrocities this person has committed, and then also mention like their sporting prowess. I think I've got one about Putin somewhere. Which said Vladimir Putin might be in the midst of controversy over the Crimea situation. But the Russian president not only rocked up to an exhibition ice hockey match in Sochi between amateur and retired Russian hockey stars overnight, he also kitted up and played. Which is the tone of all of the information we have about politicians and their sporting prowess.
And see, this is the thing, right? This will be my one, like, consolation when my team gets beaten by your team. For you to pick, Genghis Khan, who caused the death of millions, it's like, that's so funny. But, if I'm going to pick Vladimir Putin or Benjamin Netanyahu, like, it's a bit too real.
Too soon, bro.
It's a bit too soon.
Way too soon. Maduro, I think Maduro is probably a bit of a microwave player. I think he gets hot. I think he makes some mistakes. For sure. Like, he definitely does. But I think he has his moments.
Yeah, he's got good DNA. He's got good basketball DNA, and we need that big body in at the power forward. But hopefully those mistakes can be made up for by my pick at center, another fella from Serbia, the current president of Serbia, Alexander Vučić, who at 6'6" I think is the tallest current world leader.
Okay.
He doesn't have a sporting background. He's been a lifelong bureaucrat and politician. But while he's been in office, this is such a weird fact. He's been training to be a high school basketball coach for his post-presidential career.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So he's like enrolled at some athletic university and is learning how to be a basketball coach.
I assume it's not going to take him long to pick it up.
Yeah.
Have you seen footage of Serbian basketball games? Unbelievable.
They're incredible.
You got Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pedigree. Novak Djokovic, they're competitors by nature.
Exactly right.
Strong pick.
And while I do look at your sorry, I keep forgetting his name.
My center or my
your
center?
Dusan
the Mighty.
Dusan the Mighty. He does seem like more your traditional, like, slow, big, defensive European big man.
Yeah.
I do see my fella here, Alexander Vučić, in the Nikola Jokic type. He's a modern politician. He's a post-Soviet. He was a kid during the Yugoslavian wars. So like he's really about the modern NBA. Let's say.
He's earned his chops to get there
right.
as well.
Exactly right. At six man, I wanted I just wanted a microwave scorer. I wanted someone with a bit of explosive capabilities. And who better than Mark Phillips, the Prime Minister of Guyana, the world's the world's fastest growing economy.
Whoa, okay.
I haven't picked him for any physical attributes at all, but since discovery of oil in the last decade in Guyana, the economy, it's growing like by about 100% a year or something like that. Yeah, but yeah, a man who's not afraid of using his fuel to his advantage.
Yeah.
And I think he served in the military as well, so he'll have a
sure.
he'll have a good outside shot. I'm looking at him as my Lou Will, like he just comes in, gets buckets, heads back to the bench.
We got a height check on Mark?
He wasn't very tall.
Yeah. It's generally the vibe, isn't it?
Yeah. There are just not that many modern world leaders who are like above 5'10". Then for my coach, look, I'm, I think you're going for a more like physical sort of team spirit approach. I think I feel like your team's gonna have great chemistry. They're gonna really intimidate other teams. I think I'm gonna have to be like a kind of tactical genius. I'm gonna have to be like I need a Mike D'Antoni type to really scheme out our offense. And who better than the leader of the world's largest planned economy, Xi Jinping. Someone who's no stranger to, to very, very complex machinations from the absolute macro to the micro level. So he's just planned out every single step of, not just his country, but, his party and his reign. And I think he will really be the guy to bring this ragtag group together.
What a story as well, Xi Jinping. What a man. Yeah, a bit of a myth. He's like, I suppose it's a bit of an unknown hire, given that people don't understand the inner workings of the Politburo and its political machinations. Still unknown to the greater world. So going out on a limb, but you really can't argue with his track record.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he's lifted, tens of billions of people out of poverty. At what cost is a good question. But, if we're talking in pure basketball terms,
exactly
sure.
Right. Yeah, exactly right. And it's like, it's kind of like, well, can his talents translate from the NCAA to the NBA? They're completely they're completely different ball games. But like you said, the track record it just proves it all.
Yeah, and he's got a sense of he wants to build a sense of communal spirit. Is one thing that he's very strong on. Yeah, mostly in his own image.
Yeah. And look, he's not afraid to just cut out players who don't stick by the game plan. Which is something that I respect.
And just expect him not to be very clear as to where those players are. Hey, what happened to Mark Phillips?
Nickeil Alexander-Walker traded for a first round pick. Don't know where from.
Wow, what a team!
Yeah,
what a team! Yeah. What an extremely fun exercise that was.
So much
it's
fun.
It's right in the middle of the Venn diagram of my interest.
Yeah. I do think the historical world leaders starting five. I do think it's quite hard to beat. There's just too many physical specimens.
It's pretty strong, isn't it?
We just don't have in our modern leaders. Well, I'll say some of my honorable mentions. I did want Vladimir Putin. I did want Putin. He's actually genuinely probably the most athletic world leader that we have currently. He fucking wrestles bears topless or whatever he does. Horse riding, all of that stuff. I was thinking about Joe Biden. He's on the taller side, but I think he's washed. And then I was thinking Benjamin Netanyahu, but I couldn't include him for
smart
personal and political reasons.
I think another good option maybe could have been Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, I was thinking Kim Jong-un as well.
Similar grey area, but have you seen him, like some of the photos of him like playing golf where he's won like 98 shots?
And look, like
that's not even by chance. He's gifted.
His father spent a lot of time around Dennis Rodman, so there's some good IQ passed down there.
He's got insane drip. as well. So bring that to
and he is one of the chunky boys of the the world stage, so he could add some of that that much needed size in the front court.
Yeah, I'm imagining some sort of post up game. He's got a turnaround
Yeah.
It's not
exactly.
flashy, but
No.
it'll get the job
No.
done.
Him and his father, they're not power forwards in the vein of Dennis Rodman, that's for sure.
That's
but
for sure.
But they are power forwards,
Yeah.
Very powerful forwards.
Alright, that was really fun, Ollie.
Hey, anytime you want to do that,
That
just
took
let
up
me
a
know.
lot of time as well.
I could make another 3 teams, I reckon, with the research.
From the world leaders.
Yeah. This could be a whole podcast in and of itself,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. Just what do? You make the starting 5s, make their builds on 2K, get them to this simulated tournament against each other. We'll love to see Abe Lincoln putting Kublai Khan on a post though.
It's the dream. It's the American dream.
Yeah.
Alright. Thanks again, Ollie. Again,
Check out Let Me Be Your Ruler wherever you get your podcasts. Is that what you can find
no.
it? No.
On
Just in
Spotify.
specific places.
You can get it on Spotify or
Yeah.
on Podbean.
Alright, cool. Spotify, Podbean, check it out. I'll speak to you next time.
Thanks so much.